This video doesn't have a fancy title and thumbnail. It's currently 2:05 in the morning and I've been a coward on YouTube lately and I just need to get something off my chest. It's not a big issue, but it is a real issue. You might have noticed if you're a long-time viewer of the channel that I haven't been uploading consistently. My live stream days have been all over the place, and even now I just stumbled, so I thought let's redo the video, but this can't go on any longer. I've got a problem and I need to get it off my heart. Otherwise, I will potentially stagnate on this, so that's what I'm going to do for the next however long on this video. If you're not interested in my personal behind-the-scenes process, then feel free to go and scroll something else. I will just give you some inner world visions into what it's like for me as a teacher, a creator, a coach, and a mentor. I suppose I'll start with personal things based on this week. This week I went offline. And I go offline every single week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, no phone, no YouTube, no clients, nothing. I read these 4 books, if you're interested in what I was reading. I read about St. John of the Cross, When Gods Die, a Christian mystic of the highest order. I also read this book on healing developmental trauma by Lawrence Heller. This is the original work, which is highly acclaimed. I read the newer book last year, wanted to fill in the gaps. I likewise read this book from the 1980s, Facing Codependence by Pia Mellody. I wanted to brush up on the codependent studies to see if Charles Whitfield could be dethroned, and you know what? Charles Whitfield isn't dethroned, but this book by Pia Mellody, who also wrote Facing Love Addiction, is quite good. And I found this book in a charity shop in Oxford a few months back, The History of Childhood by Lloyd de Mauser. And Lloyd de Mauser is a fantastic psychohistorian because he breaks down in tremendous detail, along with other contributors, the long history of childhood trauma from the original practices of the Greeks and Romans all the way through, so we can look at the ancestral legacy of what's going on in our bodies and minds and spirits. That's what I did this week. It's currently Sunday at 2 a.m. I read these 4 books during my offline time. I currently have a full client load of 5 clients, and as a new thing in my life, I likewise have 2 classrooms of students. The Shadowwork Library opened up in terms of the community at the start of January. It's February 2022. No, it's not. It's February 22nd, 2025, but maybe I'm craving February 2022. I've got 2 classrooms right now of American and European students, roughly speaking. Last Sunday, I did 2 calls. About 20 people per call. I've never done group coaching in my life, but now I have 2 groups of 20 of very high-level conscious adults asking questions about the meaning of it all and how to heal the worst parts and get towards the best parts. It is a pleasure and a privilege to be a teacher like this. I've achieved my goals. I've had incredible client sessions non-stop for the last 2 months. I finished with 3 clients about a week ago, just over a week ago, and started with 3 new clients in the same week. And my heart felt the emptiness, the little bit of heartbreak that I feel every time when I end a mentorship journey. If you're a coach or a teacher, you know this. When you finish working with a long-term client, when you've taught a classroom for a year and the students move on, you have that moment of, I'm going to miss that. Of course, I do the professional thing and we uncouple over a period of 2 months of no contact, and we then re-meet on the date on the calendar to do a post-mentorship check-in. I do all the things professionally, but I'm also a human being. I do have feelings, and my feelings have been rather intense lately, even as things have gotten bigger and bigger in the outer world. As you can tell, there's no script for this video. I'm not sure what I'm going to say next, but I'm just trying to be honest with you about what's been happening. I've been working at full capacity. The Shadowwork Library has grown beyond my wildest dreams in a very short period of time. I had a 3-month goal for how many students I wanted to invite into the community. 3-month goal. And we hit those numbers within the first month. So I expanded the calls, not just the European time zone from 7 o'clock London time to 8:30 once per week, but also the American time zone, 7 o'clock New York time until 8:30, a midnight call for me. And those classrooms are now full of 20 students each. There are 74 or 75 members inside the community as of tonight. A couple more are joining every single week. I might, by God's grace, have a 3rd community call that I need to put in somewhere between that within a month or so. And I don't know how big this will grow. And I'm looking for business guidance, I'm looking for therapeutic advice, and I can't find the exact path ahead because it's being built as I proceed. Honestly, I'm very, very grateful for my life right now. But with the amount of messages and comments I am blessed to receive, the amount of heartache and pain, ambitions and aspirations I see on a week-by-week basis, that was already a lot. That was already a lot at the end of 2024. There are about 20,000 individuals that watch this channel every single week according to the YouTube analytics. I'm not making dumb videos on the internet for your entertainment. I'm talking about pretty significant, often heavy topics. And imagine what it feels like to have 20,000 souls listening to you every single week. It's nice. It's good. I appreciate it. But really, what does it feel like if you really feel 20,000 hearts paying attention to you? I know some people scroll and click off, but there's a couple thousand individuals. Maybe you're one of them who care about what I'm doing here and you show up every single week, and I'm grateful for that. But here I am as this one man, building it as I go, and I don't have the traditional therapeutic structure. I don't have the traditional academic structure. I don't even have a traditional life coaching and self-development structure. I'm a hybrid between all three. And I've achieved my goal with the Shadowwork Library, at least at this initial stage, of setting up what I believe to be an energetic equivalent of my own university-style space. The students inside the Shadowwork Library are saying that it genuinely feels like a master's degree space mixed with really good group therapy. That's what they say it feels like. And I've known they've been saying this. For the last 6 weeks I've been saying this. I've been getting private messages, and I have tried every single week to try and get into my business mode, to take off my coaching and teaching hat. I finished my final client session today at just after midnight. Fantastic session. 9.6 out of 10. For the last 2 months, all of my client sessions have been 9 out of 10 or higher. They're so significant. And I try and put on my business hat. I'm like, okay, I've read the business books. I need to have testimonials in place, but ethically I don't want to share private information inside the course, so I then need to put a testimonial structure in place. Okay, not the testimonials. I'll use my new email newsletter list. I've never used email in my life. I didn't set up a website until nearly 4 years into doing coaching. But I followed all the business advice and the business structure, and I launched my new website with the help of one of my best friends who's a web designer. And you might have signed up for the newsletter. You might have heard me saying, click the link down below for the 6 books and you'll get a little discount code from the Shadowwork Library. 1,400, 1,500 of you have clicked that link down below and signed up. Some of you have joined me inside the Shadowwork Library. If you're a business-minded person and you've now suddenly got a list of 1,500 warm leads, what would you do with that? This has been happening for me for the last 6 weeks. I haven't sent a single email to my newsletter list because I am fundamentally, to my fault, I'll be honest with you. I'm so one-to-one oriented that even when I'm filming these videos, I'm trying to speak to you as an individual. I don't understand the means of communication to send an email out because I don't know where these emails are being read. In a mid-morning coffee break at the office, 3 a.m. in the evening in the middle of a dark night of the soul, on a walk while distracted at the bus stop, scrolling distracted. There's so many different people there. 1,500 people. It's not massive numbers, but because I see each of those numbers as an individual who went down into description, who watches my channel, who maybe has read those books, I just have it all inside of me. And sometimes it's a bit too much. I can handle it, but energetically it is a lot. I've changed the Amazon algorithm. You might have noticed this. If you go and look at one of the books I recommend frequently, for example, let's choose one out. Let's go for more of a niche one. How about we go for this one? This is a bit more niche, not a regular book, but one that I recommend often on the channel. Embodied Spirituality in a Sacred World by Michael Washburn. You will see in the Customers Frequently Bought section 7, 8, 9, 10 other books I've recommended on this channel, and I'm going to tell you what, with full certainty, when I bought this book from Amazon however many years back, those books were not linked to this book. It's because I recommend the books in certain orders, and inside the Shadowwork Library, I have a 36-book curriculum. If you're ever interested in kind of mining what that curriculum might be without getting involved or paying the fees, go to Amazon, click around on a few of the books that you see me recommend. You're probably going to find a lot of them. I know that was me. And yet I'm invisible in that. I'm invisible in that effect. Someone can arrive on Amazon and find one book, just one of those books, and be linked into the bibliographic web. And I love that. I love that I've disappeared in the work. And yet at the same time, I do need to appear in front of the camera and appear in front of my client sessions and appear now in those two group coaching classroom environments. And I love it, but it's very, very strange for me nonetheless. I've rambled for 10 minutes straight, and it's just about enough time for me to warm up vocally to share the real thing that's been getting to me. The real thing that if I go over to my desk and bring out my phone from my walk today might land quite emotionally. I'm just going to get my phone. One moment. This is my offline phone. Often when I go for a walk, I won't take my online phone because it has social media and clients on there, so I'll just take my offline phone, and as you'll see, I try and mirror them. So they're more or less the same idea. It's a similar pine tree style background and a similar size phone. They feel literally the same, so I don't have any feeling of missing out. But I was out on a walk, and it was quite significant today. While I was on this walk, we are getting to a point. I'm aware it's YouTube and where we've all got short attention spans, but this is the emotional pain. This is me building some comfort with you and the other thousands of people that might watch this. This is me doing some bleeding in public to some degree. Leading from the wound. I was out on my walk, and it was a special walk today because at the end of February, the daffodils start to come out. And yesterday, every single year this happens. Yesterday on the way to the gym, I saw the first daffodil of the year. Proudly rising from a bed of green, that yellow head shot up, and it was glorious. And you'll never guess where I see this daffodil. Every single year, for the last 5 or 6 years that I've lived here, it's always on the main road. It's on the main road on the way to the gym. It's on the left-hand side of the road as you're walking to the gym. It's on a bank like this. There's a house, and then there's a building. And the building is the funeral directors. Every single year, the first daffodil of the spring blooms outside of the place where you direct the death. And I find that so incredibly beautiful. I noticed it 2 or 3 years ago. It happened last year, happened again this year. There's plenty of spots of daffodils. I see the bases appearing, but the stems aren't blooming. For some reason on that main road, the daffodils always start there. And over the next week, 2 weeks, they'll burst around the local environment. But new life, next to the place designated to organize the death, the funeral directors, it always touches me. I feel a surge of emotion, and then I went to sleep that evening knowing that the weather's changing and it was sunny in the porch, so I decided for the first time this year, 2025, I would go for a long barefoot walk. For about 3 months of the year, I don't get to go for barefoot walks in the way that I normally would because the ground's too cold, and I like to go for long hour and a half walks, and I just find it a bit too disconnective. But I went for my first proper barefoot walk in the local countryside here, just outside of London, and it was liberating and joyful. I filmed some stories on my phone, and I was trying to send them to myself to post on Instagram, but the essence of these stories, maybe I'll share some of them just now. You know what? I'll do it. This is a real-time moment as if it were a live stream. These are the stories I was going to put on Instagram. This was me. Well, I can't do it. I can't put the sound on because it's copyrighted. But I was basically doing this kind of stuff. This is me, listening to Linkin Park, Given Up, first barefoot walk of the season. I've got to imagine a bit of Linkin Park playing in the background, but I can't copy strike myself. There you go, I'm singing Given Up, I think. I was having this walk, and I was really enjoying myself, genuinely. I went and saw the sheep in the sheep field. Again, no sound, but there's a beauty of my local environment. Finally, I took some photos of just remind myself. First barefoot walk of the spring. Nice healthy feet, nice wide feet. But during this walk, I took a moment up on the overlook at the top of the golf course. If you watch my live streams, you're familiar with that area. You've hung out with me over there. Squatted down, bare feet, open eyes, open heart, and I started writing for the first time in about a week and a half, 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks, to be honest. I thought it'd be a community post, or maybe it'd be that first email, but I started writing from the heart, and I haven't proofread this. It's very, very, very messy, but I might read out a few extracts from what I wrote, overlooking the beautiful vision I will share with you. If you haven't seen my live streams, roughly what that vision looks like. Let me just bring it up on the phone. This is more or less what I was seeing. Here we go. This is me out there, because I'm aware of doing community post things, so even if I'm on my offline walk, I know that there needs to be a selfie, so then it goes on YouTube, because if it's just text, it doesn't do so well, so I take a few photos, and this might come out today, I don't know. But this is where I was sitting. I was up on the hill, and overlooking down there. Me hanging out, having a good time, and just generally enjoying the fact that I'm, a few community posts, setting the scene, delaying the inevitable, wasting your time arguably. You can tell that I haven't scripted this, I haven't emotionally prepared, but I need to get this out. I wrote on my notes, which is where I'm fond of writing when I'm out on my walks, about how I've been hiding. Quote from the very beginning of the post, it may have come out right now. Where have I been hiding this month? Why haven't I been posting or uploading regular YouTube videos? I've been struggling and I've been cowardly. And I talk about some things about, the things I've been hiding from you. I'm going to talk about them. But at the very bottom of this note, I get a bit more mystical and spiritual. And that's where I'm going to begin. And I'm going to fill in the objective reality details. This is what I'm experiencing. And it's not logically coherent, but this is what I've been experiencing for a few months now. As things get bigger and I get more and more successful, I've been trying to balance these energies. And it's not perfectly written, it hasn't been proofread, but I'm going to read it and do a bit of a courageous moment perhaps, I don't know. I'm just going to do it. There's no moral message in this post. This is for me, an admission of guilt, the anxious vortex of my mind and the champagne problems when you're always getting healthier and wealthier. The strange sense of loneliness that emerges when you've been blessed with abundance. The stranger sense of alienation when you don't want to use your money and status for travel, consumption, and hedonistic distraction. The top-tier problems when you're a business owner who has already maxed out their taxed advantage withdrawals and investments, and yet there is still money left over. Money which seeks investment, but all I want is to read alone in the sunshine of my library. It's extremely isolating to be myself and keep getting more successful. I don't fit in the business bro lifestyle, and then I trail off. Start going for a walk, came back into the library, and then I continued. Again, this is rough draft. Got a bit more mystical. I'm reading St. John of the Cross, so this is a book I've been reading. Collected works. Fantastic. One of the best mystical thinkers out there. I was inspired by his diagram. His very, very, very powerful diagram. I'm going to show this to you. I'll give context to what's happening here. This is the original 1550s right there. You can search this, The Ascent of Mount Carmel, St. John of the Cross diagram. And there's a modern translation on the side. I'm not going to emphasize it too much. Search it if you're interested. It's pretty powerful. Came back, read on the library floor, and continued writing. I walk the narrow path between glory and suffering. My heart is nervous, and I hear him whimper a frail yet sincere prayer of detachment. From the ashes of yesterday's ambition, with memory laced in sparks turned to soot, I look back over what I've written and feel my cowardice vanish into the spaciousness of my soul. Stepping and stepping and stepping, I have arrived at the ridge of glory and suffering, trapped at the precipice of my fragmented intentions, caught between the ruins of my past and the visions of my future. I weep in self-recognition and doubt the quality of my own sincerity. Quote, John of the Cross, glory matters nothing to me. Suffering matters nothing to me. And back to Jordan. I lie to myself with a truthful tongue, with words like feathers fallen from a forgotten bird. Vanished, ascended, unforgettable. And I'm not sure if I'm going to post that, but that's something like what I've been feeling. It gets lonelier and lonelier on the spiritual path the more that you refine your consciousness. I'm 6 years sober, and 2 days ago I tried to film the 6 years sober video. I've got 22 excellent questions that I've sourced from you and other community members. Put my phone up here, I got half an hour in, and I failed the take. I just got a block, and I don't do that very often. I got 8 questions in, and I coughed and spluttered a bit. I did this weird sound. I was like, oh no, the energy's not there. 6 years sober, being on spiritual path for, I don't know, a decade or so, but the 6 years sober and the way that I've read and the way that I live and the intentionality that I bring into my life gets lonelier and lonelier the further that I go down the path, and it's something that I work with clients with behind the scenes. They say the same things. And yet at the same time, I'm aware that they've hired me to be a mentor because I represent at least one stage above where they're at currently. They sense that inside themselves. If I was on the same level, they wouldn't want to pay me as much money as they pay me. There's some aspect of my life that is at least one stage higher than theirs. And I say to them with confidence, well, you know, it is lonely the further that you go down the path. And it's true. It's true. I still have friendships and connections. I feel very wonderfully connected with my clients and my students. But the interior experience of getting healthier and wealthier and more spiritually aware year on year and not having the framework for this and looking at all the different frameworks, especially in the financial context. I felt like I was rich 2 years ago with having enough to be able to afford an organic diet and bills are taken care of. I felt very rich 1 year ago, starting to invest for the very first time, to now have the successful launch of the Shadowwork Library community and in 2 months make more revenue than I did an entire year of coaching 3 years ago. My awareness has expanded. I've been saying and repeating to people who are close to me, what's been happening is that energetically it's as if I'm doing this moment where I'm talking with you and people come up and they say, oh, Jordan, thank you. Here's a bit of money. Go on, just take it. And I go, all right, thank you. And rather than putting it in my pocket or just, putting it somewhere, putting it to the side, because so much is coming in, I'm a bit paralyzed by the weight of it. And that's normal. Business expands, you learn new things. I'm in the UK, I have to learn the UK tax and legal system and a variety of things like this, meeting my accountant, that's fine. It's a good champagne problem to have. What do you do to optimize money going in and out of the business? Because it's not me, it's a business. How do I do this? All fine. But the speed at which it's happening and my mental conception of what the top tier of earning could be and then breaking through that much earlier than I expected has forced or necessitated a moment of stopping. And what's happened on YouTube externally is that I've stopped speaking. People have come up and said thank you, and they're saying thank you in the form of some money. But so much is there all at once. It becomes a distraction. I don't know where to put it. So for the last month, I've been figuring out, okay, imagine this is a chest that you put golden treasure into. This is here. You open it up like this, like that. I have this over here, and I can say, still what I'm doing on YouTube. Teaching on the topic. This week we're talking about healing developmental trauma. It's like, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Anyway, this week we're teaching on healing developmental trauma. Oh, yes, thank you. Okay. And the reason that we're talking about this is that, see, I'm still not perfect. I'm playing around. What I'm trying to illustrate is that I have been understanding where to set up my chests so that I can just ignore it all. I'm familiar with the king archetype, and the last month and a half has opened me up to the treasurer archetype, and I realized, archetypally speaking, is the king responsible for the wealth of the kingdom? Is the king, in his full role, archetypally speaking, responsible for the gold of his kingdom? Of course he is. But does he deal with the money on a day-by-day basis? No, that's why he has a treasurer. But then what form of treasurer? I already had an accountant. Okay, I thought that was my treasurer. But there's a different part of my psyche in terms of the wealth management aspect that isn't the teaching, it isn't the doing, it isn't the helping. And I think that with this video, God willing, I'll be able to keep receiving the money that I'm blessed to receive and not stop my flow as I put it over here in this investment fund. And currently I put it over here in this pension. I put it in this ISA. And then I put this bit of money away for my personal frivolous spending, but it's a very, very, very small amount. I'm trying to find ways to spend money that I don't need to spend. I bought a new blanket and it was £70 and I really enjoyed it. I've got a new rug that I'm standing on. It was like 30 quid. I like holistic health. That's kind of useful, but I didn't want to travel anymore. I did 2 years of traveling, non-stop with a backpack. I like being in a library. Fun aside, I considered buying the full hardcover Freudian collection, and that's £1,500. I can buy it from the Freud Museum in London. But that's a business expense. So is the Young collection, about £1,500. Those are business expenses. They're not personal, financial, like, okay, money's here, what do I do with it? I don't want to buy a car. I don't want to move to a bigger home or do these luxury status things. I basically want to be shirtless and barefoot in the forest. I don't care about having... I just don't. I just don't. And it's so isolating when you're looking online as someone who's got a level of spiritual consciousness. Maybe I'm being grandiose. A genuine non-craving towards material goods beyond a certain level. I like nice things, but I've got enough nice things. I like nice food, that's why I eat organic. You don't need lots and lots of money to live a good life. But when you're going on these forums, or the UK-specific tax optimization forums, and I'm seeing people in London, which is just an hour away, and they're on the big salaries, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600,000 per year. And I'm seeing how they're breaking down their money. I don't care about many of the things they're spending on. I feel like I've almost preemptively missed the whole journey. Like going through my 30s, I'm just somehow in 50 or 60-year-old consciousness, like I've done it already. And it makes sense to me because my clients are often in their 50s. Someone was in their 70s recently. Don't feel like a younger man. And it's weird and isolating and strange. I'm just being honest with you. Hopefully, as a result of making this video, and now having all the literal business things in place, I mean, I went really hard on this. It's been many, many hours of, I have an exact financial plan. I know exactly the revenues for next year, how it comes out, where certain bands fall, the one number that I need to track. So if I look at my bank account at the end of the month, did I earn this much? In which case, this much into the pension. Oh, I earned this much. Therefore, this much into the pension, this much in the company fund, this much into personal tax optimized accounts. Oh, it's done amazingly. Let's put this over here. I've got the numbers, but the emotions take a bit of time to follow up. And hopefully by getting my emotions out here and not just hiding behind a nicely edited post, which is what I normally do. I don't hide necessarily, but I like my writing to be articulate and well presented. I've just shared it with you in real time. I felt weirdly isolated, and hopefully as a result of my private inner work for the last 7 weeks, 8 weeks or so, I can keep welcoming new students into the Shadow Work Library, receive their gratitude in the form of money, and say thank you, take a seat. Let's do work for the next 10 months. Because I love that work, that's what I'm here for. And the money is just a small thing I deal with a couple times per month. And I invest it in myself, mainly in the pension for the future. If I'm being honest, I'm just giving that to future Jordan, and maybe I'll get a double dosing of organic kale, or an extra blanket. Maybe a slightly nicer Airbnb if I go for a trip. But fundamentally, I'm here to film a curriculum. I've got 220 videos left of the 330 video curriculum for the Self-Integration School. I've got a few more books to read from this cycle. Well, like, I don't know, 40 or 50 in the next 40 days or so. That's what I'm going to do. I appreciate you being here with me. If you do have comments down below, I will respond to them in the best of my ability, but also I might not as quickly as I usually do. I'm trying to break all the YouTube rules of now I'm wrapping up the video, and I'm aware in the back door of my mind that as soon as people get a sense that the video is about to end, they then click off the video. So I've already lost some people who've clicked off the video, and what am I going to title and thumbnail this? Because it's, 30 minutes in, and I'm going to then compress this and upload this tomorrow. I don't know, I'll just do a screenshot of myself or something. It's weird, isn't it? It's weird. Thank God I've become good at live streaming, because I can just talk and talk and talk, but this time it's more about me rather than the topics and the themes and the books. I enjoy holding up 20 books in a live stream, but I have feelings too, and my feelings are being conflicted, and yeah, I hesitate to put this out. Part of me in that moment thought I should just end the video, not upload it, because who wants to hear about a healthy, wealthy man's problems when they're going through trauma? When they're trying to heal an abuse or a moment of spiritual emergency? Who wants to hear the Jordan's out of tax optimized options for a successful business where he gets to live a dream life every day? I know, it's not about the literal happenings. It's about the fact that I don't have an identity structure to put myself into because I feel like I've already pre-completed a variety of the archetypal journeys that men get lost in. And I know because I've worked with enough clients who are in their 50s and 60s to see the pattern ahead. Down here on the shelf, I've got so many retirement books. I'm going to show you. If you haven't seen this already, I'm just going to grab the shelf, right? Might be a bit messy. This is my retirement shelf. You've heard of inner child archetypes. This is my inner old man archetype. This is me looking towards my 60, 70, 80, 90-year-old self. I've read all these books on retirement. I'm going to give you a little peek there. You can see these. Some of them are really good. 7 Steps to Creative Aging is a very good one. I see and I feel like I've already been there. I don't feel like my age in the slightest. It's weird. It's really weird to be me. It's a weird notification. I wonder what it's from. Oh, weird notification. I just spent £52.20 at Amazon on my business account. And you know what that is? I'm not going to show you the notification from my bank. I spent £52.20. And it's me trying to spend a bit of money. And it's me updating my floor desk where I do my sessions. From this one that I've been using for the last 3 years to one that's a darker brown that fits the aesthetic of my nice bookshelf over here and the other wood inside the library, as well as a laptop desk to put the laptop up. Everything happens synchronistically. Yeah, that's me trying to spend money. That's me trying to figure out how to honor the money that you give me, to not dishonor it. I'm going to put this desk down, otherwise it looks a bit weird. I'll end on this point. It is just very rambly. Another thing that happens in my consciousness, apart from reading all these retirement psychology books, is I have, to a fault, ethical complex where, because my business is so self-led, it's authenticity-led, never taken a sponsorship, never had a single affiliate link for a book. When I recommend a book, like, well, no one's going to give me an affiliate link for this one, History of Childhood from the 1970s. I don't have affiliate links in there. I've changed the Amazon algorithm without ever earning a single penny from Amazon. Ever. And sometimes people leave these comments and think that I'm making millions from book sales. Never a penny. Not directly, sure. My client work, my coaching work. Never an affiliate link, never a sponsorship. You're not going to see me shilling BetterHelp or Squarespace. Shoot off my foot if I do. I'm really interested in the ethics behind this, because the way that you do one thing is the way that you do everything. I've been very blessed for the last 5, nearly 6 years. I haven't made a single unconscious penny. It's either one-to-one work with people who really appreciate my work. Never had a single refund on my one-to-one client services. It's my coaching program for the Shadow Work Library. And it's a bit of ad revenue, a couple £100 per month from YouTube, and that is a very low amount for the amount of subscribers I have, because I don't put monetization on for me. I put it on because YouTube favors it. I turn off all of the ads in the middle of the video because I don't want your consciousness to be attacked with selling. I think they're at the start and the end. You used to be able to do it so they could just be at the end or just be at the start. But now you have to do it both sides. I make a couple £100, I could make thousands and thousands. I've had clients who've got much bigger YouTube channels than me. They make a lot of money from YouTube. I don't do that. I leave all that money there because I don't want it. I don't want the energy behind it. It matters so much to me. The level of consciousness and intention that I bring to the money that I receive, I don't want a dirty penny. I'm in this for life. So when you give me a penny, or you give me hundreds of pennies, I really treat that moment as, a cheesy as it is, a sacred moment of thank you, I appreciate you, because it's only things that I've created that I care about and I value. That's my business principle, my business foundation. And it's not just you've given me this money, therefore I'll do what I want. I genuinely, I'm saying this, I operate as if every single spending choice I make is visible to the whole world who pays attention to me. From an intentional place, if you were my client, and you paid me £7,400 to work with me for 4 months. It's 4 months, 4 days per week, very intense. It's lower than what other coaches are charging, but much, much, much higher than what many therapists are charging. It's a lot of money for most people. If you gave me that money, and you saw me spending it on low grade, low consciousness, crappy things, and you saw me do that, you change your impression of me. Even if you don't see it happening, if it were happening, you would feel it on an unconscious level. So I honor the money that you give me by making sure it's well invested, or if it's going to be a bit of fun money, the fun is in service of me. Like going to a sauna, or buying, a new desk, a new slightly nicer little wooden desk to do my client session on, where I'm going to be talking to you next week. It's silly. It might be some trauma in there. Could be some old financial wounds. I didn't grow up with money. I grew up in a more, literal arguments about the beans on toast, and there's 29 pence there rather than 35 pence. That's the classic example that I give, but it got much worse at times. It got much worse in my family home. Now I know that intentionality matters with money, and I refuse to grow into some kind of cultish, polluted coaching figure. I just make all your money. It just comes, and I buy loads of expensive cars and buy a massive house and spend it on parties. When you had to earn that money, and you thought you were investing in me and investing in yourself, and I squander it on your behalf. I find it disgusting, ethically, and I refuse to do it. I also don't know how to spend, so I'm trying to encourage myself by somehow encouraging myself to spend like £500 a month if I can. My habits aren't very expensive, so that is it for now. Thank you for being here. If you see me not uploading very much, you can send me a nice message maybe on Instagram. If you want to know where I'm giving the majority of my energy, it is to my currently full client load. The 5 clients will be a space opening up next week, 2 weeks from now, maybe. Otherwise, it's in the Shadow Work Library community, where I am active. I am giving energy there. I'm hosting those calls, but we're in this together. Doing the best that I can, and we're all doing the best that we can. Hopefully you see who I am now. I feel better in my heart, and the change will be what the change needs to be. I'm not going to force anything. I'm just trying to be honest with you, because that's what matters, really. Thank you for listening. That's the end of the video. I'll see you in the comments.